What is the Cultural Revolution and what do you think of it? China, 1960s or so? Chairman Mao, otherwise known as Mao Zedong. The Cultural Revolution was in China and used mainly as a way for Chairman Mao to regain his position of power in China. Why did he want to regain power and how did he lose in the first place? Well, it's actually really simple. Mao wanted to do something similar to what Stalin of the Soviet Union did before World War II. Mao began a project known as the Great Leap Forward. The Great Leap Forward was Mao's campaign to try to make China transform into a more industrialized society in the fastest way possible. Not everything ends in a happy outcome. People were forced from their private land and were forced to work extremely unreasonable conditions. As a result, all of China fell into a famine like the Soviet Union did decades before. Chairman Mao's reputation aided during this time. He realized that
the chaos caused was on a grand scale and I take responsibility.
And this caused the Cultural Revolution to roll out to not only regain power, but to save China to some extent. The mission statement of the Cultural Revolution was to preserve the communist views in the country by getting rid of everything and everyone who related themselves to the idea of the West, i.e. capitalism and other traditional Chinese elements. Thus, older generations and certain individuals were heavily affected by this mission statement. Mao sent the nationalists to a training camp to re-educate them. This was not voluntary. They oftentimes were forced away from their loved ones.
There's a nationalist! Get out!
Even after coming back from these camps, the generation gap is too large, especially with their different situations growing up. This was one of the many harsh realities that was hidden from the public and outside world. Propaganda portrayed Mao as a benevolent leader who had even children falling behind him in his footsteps. Other propaganda included women in the form of dance entertainment to portray Mao's ideas in a righteous light. Eventually, of course, the Cultural Revolution ends and everyone finds about the horrible abuse many people had to endure during this period. For example, many citizens were publicly humiliated, harassed sometimes sexually, and seized of their properties that they justly owned and earned. An unnamed individual recalls that during this time,
as I gazed at Mao's face, wearing what was intended as a benign expression, but was in fact a smirk of self-satisfaction, I wondered how one single person could have caused the extent of misery that was prevailing in China. There must be something lacking in our own character, I thought, that had made it possible for his evil genius to dominate.
Even though Mao declared the Cultural Revolution to have ended in 1969, the effects of the Cultural Revolution still lasted until after Mao's death in 1976 and the arrest of his Gang 4. After this end, reformers ultimately rebuilt China, stating that the revolution wasn't all that great, even though it did help China succeed in the decades that follow. Was the Cultural Revolution beneficial? Despite its heavy amount of casualties, the Cultural Revolution helped China expand its economy and industrial stations to make it the new powerhouse of the 21st century. This revolution has taught many Chinese citizens that it is all right to have different and conflicting opinions than one another, because in the end, petty arguments mean nothing to family, which in today's China prevails over differing ideals.